my own correction, uncorrecting my own correction, my own correct fact. There with the pale blue nose, car number 4.
There he is.
Now, those are the Maranello concessionaire colours, so that Cambridge blue used by Colonel Ronnie Hoare on his cars, of course, the normal Rosso Corso Ferrari red, but that is the British importer Maranello concessionaires, Colonel Ronnie Hoare, who ran many Ferraris in period with that blue noseband.
Much like the Nart cars that had a blue and white stripe.
Ready to go green for the first of 3 races for Plateau 4 here in the 2018 Le Mans Classic. GT40s to the 4, 5, 6, 7 front row starters. And the field is led by Sean Lynn with the Gulf colours, kind of, in the number 17 car. The silver car coming alongside. The gold car of James Cottingham started on the outside of the front row. Cottingham hangs on in 3rd place as the Shelby Cobras and the Shelby Mustangs also jockey for position with the GT40s in this battle of raw horsepower. 5th place, you can see that sort of leaf green open GT4 Roadster that Rui Mercedes Silva is driving. 64 car giving chase to the leader is James Cottingham.
And now we've got a battle at the front as the 64 car tries to go underneath the 17 cars. They make the run through Tetrouge, who's going to have none of that as we've got one around at run up to the Dunlop. Didn't get a number on that, up to the Dunlop Bridge. Now they are 3 abreast as they come out of Tetrouge and head down the Mulsanne straightaway. Yeah,
Cottingham didn't get a good run onto the straight, did he? He's got 1 in either mirror and 1 line astern. The red car with the white stripe, that's Diego Ferraro, 61. And that is a 1965 Mark I GT40, but there has been a change for the lead. Very early on the brakes for some reason, the poleman Sean Lynn. And whether he... in Tessie, whether he was not quite sure that the brake pedal was going to be there for the first time of asking, was just being cautious or not, I'm not sure. But there we have a change for the lead, and it looks as though car number 8, David Hart, in the yellowy gold coloured car, he shares with
Dutch colours.
Yeah, he shares with Hans Hugenholtz. Those two have raced a lot of GTs together, and that car now has the lead from James Cottingham in the silver car.
Is that the Hugenholtz that's the clothing vendor?
Son of John Hugenholtz, who designed Zandvoort, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So there's the battle for the lead. Cottingham in 2nd place. Sean Lynn, the poleman, in 3rd, now under pressure. The white car is Grant Tromans, number 51, another Mark I GT40. So this is a real, look at this, just a string of GT40s with a couple of Cobras gamely, or 3 Cobras gamely charging along behind. The top 7 or 8 cars, all GT40s. Number 21 car, Roel Goethe, in blue and white colours. Roel Goethe, who with Stuart Hall,
sliding sideways,
racing the Gulf cars for so many years. Roel Goethe with just about every Gulf car ever built in any era, pretty much in his Rothko collection. Racing a rare non-Gulf liveried car. That's him further back with the blue car with a white stripe. Battle for 3rd is very alive, isn't it? And don't forget, we've got, this is a 43-minute race, so we'll have the better part of 10 laps of this. So 17, Sean Lynn, 51 right behind him, started in 4th on the grid, right behind him, Grant Tromans, and they're number 5 already at the side of the road, and that is David Franklin and Remo Lips, sharing with they're sharing with Arnold Meyer in that 350 GT Mustang. Shelby GT350 raced here at Le Mans in 1967 with a couple of French drivers. So not a factory Shelby entry. That's very much the Carroll Shelby colours. Leaders.
Parade of GT40s.
Yeah. Leaders easing clear a little, aren't they? The 5th place car, Jaguar Ferrao, in that red car with the white stripe through the centre. The GT40 stripe, I guess it is, isn't it? Twin stripes with the Shelby stripes, but that one straight up the roof of the car. That's very much a GT40 colour scheme.
Now what you see here also, Martin, is the difference in body shape between some of the Mark IIs and some of the Mark Is. 17 car, the 3rd place car is a Mark I. Oh, and the 17 car now has lost 2 positions at the exit of the Porsche curves.
Of course, the GT40 famously so low that the bubble over the driver's helmet was there to allow them to actually have a helmet on. Otherwise, the door closed so tight on the human head, it just wouldn't have fitted the helmet in. So there's our poleman, Sean Lynn. And he's now down to 5th place, and he is being chased by the GT40 Roadster. This is sort of slightly later development, the Roadster from 1965, but wasn't a particularly successful race car.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Didn't get raced very much because it wasn't as fast and successful as the other cars.
Yeah, too much turbulence, I'm guessing. David Hart still leading. Battle for 2nd place. James Cossey. In fact, it's not the battle for 2nd place. This is the battle for lead. It's a 3-way dice. The white car, Grant Tromans. All 3 of these men, hugely experienced historic racers in very powerful cars. Number 22 GT40 there, that is Richard Mines. I'm not sure if he's sharing that car with Rob Huff as well. He frequently does share cars with Rob Huff, but he's entered as the solo entrant in that, number 22 Mark 1 GT40.
And he's racing with the 906 Carrera. Number 42, Romain Rocher behind the wheel of that car. That is another one of the Porsches that raced here.
Lap 2 at the first chicane, and another challenge for the lead. David Hart just hangs on in front of James Cossingham in the silver car. 3rd place in the white machine, Grant Tromans. Now they have company from 61. That is the red car of Diego Ferrao. So Ferrao has towed his way up to the back of this, and in the next little group, as the lead pack breaks away, and again there's a challenge from Cossingham on the straight. Again he gets door to door with David Hart, and this time he's got the inside line, but he's not on the racing line. And now it's 2-by-2 formation. It's almost like the formation lap. Change of lead. James Cossingham goes through ahead of David Hart, and no change for 3rd place. The white car hangs on, just Grant Tromans in front of Diego Ferrao. 5th place now for poleman Sean Lynn, leading the next little group. And he's got Mercedes Silva behind him and Roel Goethe. So Mercedes Silva in the Roadster, all over the back of Sean Lynn, looking to go by, and Roel Goethe in the blue car. The last car on your screen is closing in on that battle.
Goethe quite experienced here. He's got 10 starts with Aston Martin. His best finish was 13th, 2013, in 30th position with Jamie Campbell-Walter and Stuart Hall.
Yeah. And they went on to win the World Championship in GTE-AM. So Roel Goethe, a very successful historic racer with Stewie Hall, but also, as you say, in period, great finishes here at Le Mans, and they also won the World Championship title as the AM champions that year. 64, the race leader in what is a knockdown, drag-out knife fight between GT40s and hugely talented drivers. What a race. Seven GT40s lead the race here. 7 GT40s. And the Roadster there in 6th position, just behind our poleman Sean Lynn. But again, David Hart, who took the lead on lap 1 in the number 8 car, just been passed early in this lap by 64, now being passed for 2nd place by 51 Grant Tromans on the inside, sitting there as they go through the first sweep of the Porsche curves, and through he goes. He makes the pass, and oh, he's lost a wheel. Grant Tromans, left front, has just shot off into the middle distance and will rejoin the circuit, probably somewhere around where he will come back on. But that is the end of a fantastic start from Grant Tromans. And look at the wheel, just spat out from under the car. It exited stage right, it came from stage left. That must have felt absolutely appalling.
That had to come off before he came into the camera shot, and it was behind him and shot out through, through the frame. That had to be a very scary moment, as now it is a 6-car lead train, all of, and there you see the
Troman's wheel has finally run out of kinetic energy and has come to a halt. Grant Troman's almost back at the pit lane at this stage. David Hart then is in second place behind James Cottingham rather, who leads the race. And David Hart, just dancing the car around as he turns into the second element of the Dunlop curve. He's got real pressure from behind. The red car is Diego Ferrao. Ferrao looking to try and stick his nose down the inside. And again, Jim, you know, these cars, just, you don't even want to think what they're worth when you're watching them race like this. As hard and fast now as they were in periods, and you know, then they were valuable racing cars. Now they're multi-million-dollar works of art. A spin for one of the ISO Grifos. In fact, that was an all ISO battle. Was that 14 and 25?
I think it was. That car in 1965 ISO raced here in 1965.
Yeah, it looks like it's a car driven by Pat Blakeney-Edwards, and that's throwing out a lot of fluid at the back. Now, that will have been as a legacy of the spin.
Cause or effect?
No, I think that's the overflow tank, probably from the fuel tank, and as it spun, it's chucked out fuel everywhere, going by one of our E-types. So the leader's already in traffic. This is the second and third place car. There's Diego Ferrao in the red machine. 25, not sure if it's Pat Blakeney-Edwards behind the wheel or not.
Still liquid coming out the back, Mark.
Yeah, it's chucking out behind his rear tyre. Now that might be the cooling system blowing out some liquid. So Pat Blakeney-Edwards sharing the number 25 car with John Rushton. That's an A3C Grifo Competizione, and it is definitely blowing stuff out, and it is chasing
the Bizzarini.
The Bizzarini, yeah. So two very low volume Italian sports car marks of the 1960s. You can't buy a Bizzarini, you can't buy an ISO anymore either. Behind him is the 250 LM Ferrari, and that is where 25 and 14, that's 13th and 14th, and the Ferrari is in 15th position. A beautiful view of the 1300cc Abarth. And you know, these...
It's fantastic, aren't they?
Carlo Abarth was just such a genius, like Amedeo Gordini, working with tiny production engines, started out as a tuner and then ended up, you know, going the whole hog into designing these ultra lightweight, small capacity sports cars. And a lot of them had outside work, but this is absolutely a thing of beauty. If I told anybody other than a real Italian car nut that was a Ferrari, they go, yeah, and isn't it gorgeous? If I told them then, yeah, it's a 1300cc car built in, you know, numbers that you can count on one hand, they'd be, oh, you're kidding. Lotus Elan of the Fillon brothers and Jean-Paul Nicolet, who owns Oak Racing and also therefore builds the Ligier cars currently. Pierre-Francois Fillon, Pierre, the president of the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, the ACO. Yes, they are familiar because they own and run the facility at Le Mans. Well, they don't own it, the public do, but they run Le Mans.
And the other Fillon is the former Prime Minister.
Former Prime Minister of the Republic of France, exactly right. Being chased by an Alpine Renault. Again, now we talked about Amedeo Gordini and Gordini cars, but Alpine from Dunkirk on the far, Dunkirk, yeah, on the far north of France on the Channel coast, again, really produced some fabulous cars, most known as rally cars, but they certainly raced very successfully at Le Mans in the early 1960s as well, when, you know, if you built a car, basically it pretty much could do anything.
49 car into the pits.
So 275 GTB 4-cam, 1966, so right at the end of this period. Number 12 Jaguar E-Type is in. We saw that going slowly. He's got a vibration at the front. Never a good thing when you're doing the sort of speeds that you do here. There's the beautiful little Alpine, and you can see, if you know what an A10 Berlinetta is, you know, the cars that won the Monte Carlo Rally, you can see somebody's just got a plasticine model of one of those and stretched it out to make it more aerodynamic, haven't they? You know, a lot of this was done with little tufts of wool and motorway trips, you know, in the dark of night, and as much intuition as anything else. I remember reading a story about Jaguar D-types racing here on the Mulsanne Straight, And they used to have those little Lucas lights that shone down, that were always like number plate lights on any British production car of the 50s or 60s, shone down onto the illuminated number. They weren't getting maximum revs in top gear, and it turned out that when they moved the number plate light, the number on the side of the door, to a low pressure area, suddenly they gained another sort of 500 or 600 RPM at the end of the top straight, because the speeds are so insane on this track. Another 275 GTB, very much a road car turned into a racing car. That really is a grand tourer of the finest order, isn't it?
Of course, those cars were dominant during this period and dominated the field, but in numbers, they had big numbers.
And yet, look at it, he's just struggled his way past an MGB. He's being harassed by a Healy 3000. And there's a Lotus Elan. I don't think that's even a 26R behind. I think that's an Elan. Pit lane window is open. So we've had the first 15 minutes of the race, and it will remain open until the final 15 minutes.
Gives you a half-hour window, right, to make your pit stop, roughly?
Yeah, pretty much. 43-minute race, so it's kind of just about 20 minutes.
Yep.
The 906 Porsche there in the middle of your shot. One of the joys of watching the racing is the variety of different cars. One of the joys of being able to walk around the paddock is a 5-minute conversation with somebody you've never met in your life and probably won't see again for a long while, about a car in which they have so much time, effort, love, perseverance, joy, frustration, passion invested in, and they'll know the story of everything they've ever done to it, probably everything that's ever been done to it beforehand. And that's just, you know, sharing that love is absolutely fantastic. The very low, flat, wide Mark 1 GT40 look clearly evident there in the black car and in the green Roadster. And that's a change of position, because that is Roel Goethe in the dark of the two cars. He was reeling in the battle between Sean Lynn, who's just got out of shot and who's now up to 4th place, and the Roadster. That was originally the battle for 4th and 5th. Now Roel Goethe up to 4th place in his number 21 car, up to 5th place rather, his number 21 car, and chasing Sean Lynn.
And the front body work and the nose treatment on the Mark 1 is where you see the most distinctive difference between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. The rear profile is pretty much the same. The Mark 2 is a little bit, seems a little bit wider or beefier, as again we were talking earlier, a little more hippie, you know, got more hips.
Tires grew wider, you've got to put them somewhere, you know, and that's it. And again, you can see with the Roadster, still quite slim hips, but you can see on Roel's car coming closer to us, it's a little bit more of a swell around the rear end, because it's got those big air intakes that are notably not there on the arches of the Roadster. So they're higher up on the Roadster, but on Roel's car, they're further down, a little lower down as well.
For
so
brakes,
it's got that slightly wider look to it. And of course, looking at the back of the Roadster as well, very much like a 250 LM. It's got that little flying bunch just in the vertical rear window, whereas the other GT40s, the Mark 1s, Mark 2s, have got that long sloping rear deck. Probably made it impossible to see anything behind.
Still in the pits. The Volvo GT.
Yep. So this is car number 49 of any number that started the race. Pit stops have been happening, by the way. So the number 49 Ferrari, this is 275 GTB 4-cam. We saw it going a little slowly. It's been in the pits for a while. And the lead group working their way through some of the slower cars. And again, in period, and you see it in the Le Mans film with Steve McQueen, passing 911s, passing MGs, you know, it's not just a made-up grid. These are cars of the type, and some actual cars that raced at Le Mans in this period. So, as now, the fast cars have to deal with the slow traffic. Coming by an Alfa Giulietta, which pulls into the pit lane, a Zagato bodied Alfa. There's, right behind that blue car, that was an Alpine A110, so that was the Alpine Berlinetta, and the car that we were looking at a little before was the full aerodynamic version.
There's the 60 car that had a problem earlier, back underway. 17 cars, Martin, have raced that are in this group, in this grid, have actually raced here in period and completed the race. Some were DNFs, but they have raced. The 17 car has come into the pits. Also the 61 car.
Yeah, you just saw Sean Lynn flying in, and they're not alone. Diego Ferrao came in. That's the red car right there. So he is in. Race still being led by James Cottingham, the 64 car from David Hart. Battle of the Cobras, 7 versus 10. And where are these guys? They're now up to 5th and 6th. Yeah. So they both qualified inside the top 15. And these two guys are pulling their way up the order. More GT40s come into the pit lane. I can't even believe I'm being allowed to be in a race where I can say more GT40s and then come into the pit lane right by my window. This is, I'm almost feeling guilty about being paid to do this, almost.
No. Don't let them. "23 minutes remaining, and the pit window is open, and many of the teams are starting to take that opportunity. We have had our 3rd and 4th place cars into the pits. Now we've got 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 coming to the pits. So the top runners have all started to make their pit stops. We're still waiting for the top 4, Martin. The 64, the 8, the 21.
Oh, and David Hart. The door is opening itself out on the Mulsanne straight. That's the second chicane just before the kink. Well,
that's negative pressure on the outside of the car.
Well, now what this is going to do is just distract him slightly, slow the car down a fraction. But what it is going to do, hopefully the team are watching this and going, right, when we do the driver change, we've got to have a look at that passenger door when it's open, because the driver can't reach across there. There's no strap to help him shut it. Ooh. So when David Hart, I think it is David at the wheel with that pale blue helmet, when he hands over to Hans Hugenholtz, the crew have to be on the other side, making sure that door stays shut. Buried in the gravel, the 23 E-Type. And that is bad news, I'm afraid, for Frederic Lemos. It's a 64 E-Type. And does he get out? Yes, he does. That's the team. Come on, baby. Let's get some hard standing. No, don't go forward. Go back, go back, go back. Don't go forward.
Go back further.
Yeah, go back.
There he goes. Then he now will dump all of that gravel.
Yeah, and it sounds as horrible as it looks, I'm afraid. It sounds like a machine gun rattling away, shooting the underside of the car. Well, that was the final chicane sequence, wasn't it? Out of Arnage comes David Hart. He's going to have to be careful not to run out too wide in places, otherwise he will clonk the door. It's out quite a long way.
Maybe he's trying to close it.
No, I think there are easier ways.
I think so too.
He needs to come into the pits anyway. In's the number 2 car. So it's a fabulous looking car. Martin Stretton and René Arnoux, some of the names drivers on it, but this weekend it is entered for René Arnoux, Christian Traber and Michael and Peter Hinderer. So yes, that René Arnoux, he's one of a dozen different Formula One races. You know, think of René Arnoux for so many years as a Renault driver, as a Ligier driver in Formula One, but as so many did in their formative years, also raced here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
3 times. His best finish was in 1994 in a Viper with Justin Bell and Bertrand Ballas.
Wow. Now, I would have never said that Justin Bell and René Arnoux had ever shared a car. That's a fantastic piece of information. Great stuff. So his best ever result was with Justin. Well, Derek's wasn't with Justin, but they nearly ended up on a podium together in the Harrods McLaren. David Hart into the pit lane then. Brings the number 8 car in from second place. Jeremy Cotram, the race leader, is already in. That's not him in the white Cobra. He's in the silver GT40 a little further up pit road. There you go. Well, the team are going to not change David Hart, but they slam the door and gaffer tape the top of it in a low pressure zone so that the low pressure hopefully won't pull the gaffer off, and the high pressure at the front probably won't either. So trying to make sure that the door stays shut. So David Hart stays in. Sweating like a PIG pig, I imagine, in these conditions.
Plus you get the heat soak while you're sitting there.
Yeah, because he's, you know, a long way from that engine.
Yeah.
You know, fully 2 inches, maybe even 3. Patrick Seaman there in the black shorts watching the action. He's played a big part in a couple of our races already. One safe release right into the path of a Bizzarini. The Jaguar got out in front of the Ferrari that they were clearly racing, but almost got Bizzarini to pieces. Oh, hanging on to the GT40 Roadster over the bridge. Now that car has made its stop. David Hart goes back out. Race leader, by the way, is former World Endurance Champion Roald Goethe. Stitched together like Frankenstein's monster with that gaffer tape, isn't it? David Hart's GT40. There's the race leader, and there is the second place man, and they come out behind the slippery Gordini with those super long fins, and that immediately holds up the race leader, and David Hart is on him in an instant. And again, the MGB just where the race leader James Cottingham didn't want him to be.
And the Gordini, of course, looking like a 50s style Cadillac, only a mini-me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
with the big wings in the back.
You could almost see it as some sort of submarine or something, you know. And that was where some of that, you know, it's not computational fluid dynamics, it's actual fluid dynamics. Why are submarines the shape they are? Because they're good at cheating liquid flow. And there is essentially a less dense liquid. At least that's what engineers tell me, and they're too clever for me to argue with. Here's our race leader then, Roald Goethe, down to share with Stuart Hall. I imagine it's entirely possible that if Roald is feeling up to it, he will do the whole of this race, and Stuart might do
the night race,
the night shift. And don't forget, this is not the only car they're driving either, so I think they haven't raced yet. I think they have at least one other car that they're going to be racing. Waved yellows. And a board, was that a safety car board? I hope not. Waved yellow flags, now it's green, so somebody's had a little bit of an instant there at Arnage. More pit stop continue for another few minutes as the sun heads slowly towards the horizon. Slow MGB on the right might be a problem.
Roald is actually in 3 cars. He's in this plateau, and then he's in plateau 5 and plateau 6.
Yeah, it's the quicker modern stuff. Now, the gaffer tape. I thought having gaffer tape on the leading edge might be a good idea. What do I know? Well, the answer is, as David Hart battles for the lead of the race.
Oh, you can't come inside.
Well, you're going to have to sometimes. These things are far too valuable to go twonking into somebody's GT350, when it in itself is far too valuable to be wrecked. Slow zone.
They come to a slow zone.
So that freezes the race in Aspic. And everybody comes immediately down to 80 kilometers an hour, and that will take them down to Mulsanne corner from the kink here, and then they'll be released out of there.
Did you mean aspect, or did you really mean frozen in aspic?
Frozen in Aspic.
Okay.
It's a well-known English phrase.
Yeah, it's a
Feel free.
well-known horrible American dessert too.
Well, exactly. Aspic, for those that don't know, is the gelatine jelly into which, you know, lark's tongues and things were set. And that's the whole thing. It keeps everything stationary. This Code 80 thing, basically, you don't lose, you don't gain, at least in theory.
I love the line. That one I am going to steal.
Oh, well, feel free. I've got a pocket full of them. I know Bruce is picking that very quickly and putting better phrases in. So, up to 9th is the René Bonnet Jet, having a very good, oh no, that's car number 9, up to 67th. I was going to say, how can they be doing that? They obviously haven't stopped yet. 36 with a bit of a problem in the pit stop, that Arbart. See 1300 Arbart driven by Akira Sugahara and Takahiro Morimasa.
The door's open again.
Yeah, doors open for David Hart, but he is the race leader. Or he will be the race leader.
Now the 18 car.
Yeah, that has pitted. I think the 18 car's shown ahead of Roald Goethe. Not sure that we saw that pass.
No, we didn't.
No. Okay, so, however, this should be our lead battle. 21 is in, race leader is in, Roald Goethe. So he comes past us, and half a lap away, and half a world away in terms of calm, is the battle for what may well shape up to be the race lead between David Hart, car number 8, using all of the road and a bit of the hard shoulder, and right behind him, James Cottingham.
Ooh, Cottingham! Wow, Cottingham almost lost it in the Porsche curves. That was a major tank slapper.
Right, driver change.
Looks like it.
Yep, Stewie Hall getting in, Rolgerta getting out. So there will be a driver change.
Or is it Stewie getting out and Goethe getting in?
Sure.
I think that's Goethe getting in, because I thought I saw the Union Jack on the belt of Stuart Hall.
So the Roadster, yeah, you're right, you're right. So Stuart Hall started race, Rolgerta in second place in the second stint. The number 18 car comes back out, and James Cottingham, rather, in the 64 car, shown as being a 2-driver entry. It's not actually on my full entry list, so...
Yeah, I've got it as Hart and Hart.
No, that's the 8 car.
Oh, I thought that's what you're doing.
But the 64 car that sweeps around to... Does he take the lead? Gets in front of David Hart, who's down to drive with Hans Hugenholtz, but has not changed. David Hart's door flying open. So this then, if the number 18 car got out in front of them, the Roadster still leads. Now, I find that a little hard to believe, because it was quite some way behind in 5th position. What have they done wrong that he was A, in front, and B, comes out in front? However, he was 5 seconds in front of the line. I'm not sure that the Roadster is going to be in front before they get to the braking area for the first chicane. Here comes the 64 car and the number 8 machine as well. So James Cottingham and David Hart go streaming by Macedo Silva, and the lead status is resumed, although we've lost Diego Ferrao in the number 3 and number 61 car, who was in the top 5, the red car, and also, oh, and a spin! Trying to carry a little too much speed into that first chicane. Not sure which of the Macedo Silvas it is. That was the red car of Diego Ferrao going by. Now then, where is the pole-sitting pale blue car of Sean Lynn? He hasn't come by yet, and they are being chased by car number 7, which we haven't seen much of, which is a 289 Cobra, another Shelby Cobra, of Stefan Vimes and Ludovic Caron. But this is now our bona fide lead battle, 64 GT40 versus number 8 GT40. And David Hart making a run around the outside. Number 18 is firmly beached, and David Hart retakes the lead again. Lights ablaze, heading into the growing gloom of the evening. David Hart in the number 8 car. The team are preparing big patches of gaffer tape. Have they been told by the race director, who we don't hear on our radio here like we would do in the 24-hour race, that he must make a pit stop to fix that flapping door? He's only just retaken the lead from James Cottingham, the second of the GT40s there with the headlights ablaze. And he swept around Cottingham like Cottingham had suddenly lost a couple of cylinders. But
might have missed a gear.
But if he needs to make another pit stop, then David Hart will drop out of contention for the podium here. Because Diego Ferrao is only 10 seconds behind the leader, so 9 seconds off second place. He'll lose a lot more than that. Shelby colours on the 76 Mustang. This overrun flame out. And here's our lead battle. The 2 cars that started 2nd and 4th on the grid.
Cottingham gets a much better run out of Arnage than Hart does.
Well, this is ostensibly, I guess, all down to how the engine management and how the gearing are all set up, what the driver prefers, you know, where the strong points are for the car on the circuit. There on the left with the yellow noseband, that's Chris Marsh's Marcos 1800 Volvo engine. And a couple of Lotus 26, Lotus 26R there in the centre, number 38 car. See who's driving out and chasing the 44. Jim, you know what kind of Porsche that is. I just know it's a Porsche.
GTS.
It is indeed, and that is driven by Jean-Marc and Julien Bussellini. They'll be a father and son combination. Jean-Marc 58, 58, and Julien 24 years less than that. What's that? 32. I can't do maths on there, I really can't. So David Hart, pit lane's over here.
Yeah,
he hasn't come to see us. Nope. So have they not been told that he must stop? I mean, it's not dangerous. It doesn't look dangerous. It is distracting for him. But yeah, look at James Cottingham. Comes flying out of the forward chicane, up the inside in the Dunlop curve. Moves done long before they get to the braking area. So these two cars really... Are they just playing with us?
Yeah, they've been bungee corded together, Martin.
Yeah, because we saw David Hart coming absolutely flying by from Arnage, from Mulsanne Corner down towards Indianapolis, and yet it looks as though he's got the slow car up the hill to the Dunlop curve. As we saw James Cottingham just come absolutely blasting past him. So number 18 has been dragged out of the gravel trap and is still on the lead lap, and has dropped down to 20th place. Crikey. Shouldn't have taken my eyes off the screen, should I?
2 wheels off in the grass for the number 8 car, and that's what happened. He was the 64 car got on the brakes for the slow zone, and that surprised the 8 car. He had to move to the left to avoid, and nearly that ended in tears.
But you saw the 911 not paying any attention at all, nearly went by both GT40s, and behind at the back of that shot. Yeah, he sees it first. David Hart unsighted because there's a GT40 in his way, doesn't see what's going on, and suddenly, oh my word, that was nearly a very big accident and the end of 2 GT40s. And watch as the 911 comes in from behind. Look at the glow on the brakes of David Hart's brakes. Well, here's the replay of what happened to the GT40 Roadster that was the leader post pit stops. Dropped into the gravel at the first chicane. And look, on the left-hand side, the second set of headlights back. Yeah. That's the third-place car, Diego Ferrao, in that red and white car. 3-minute time penalty for 64, 50, and 58. Well, they're none of our lead group, so yeah, 54 is the car that's in 9th. 64 is Cottingham, so that's the leader. Wow. 3-minute time penalty, so that can't be for this slow zone. 54 is the Brooks Smith car that's in 9th place. And that is we haven't talked about that actually, Steve Brooks in the, that's another of the ISO Grifos, the A3Cs. And they go green again, the flags wave, and 58, that's down in 37th place. Well, that will promote the Fions and Pierre Nicolet a long way up the order. 58 will lose a lap, a minute or a lap or whatever. So David Hart's team, there's Hans Hugenholtz on the right-hand side. David Hart's team are ready to gaffer the living daylights out of the door, but now he's been handed a free pass to the lead. My money would be stay out unless you're forced to pit, because James Cottingham, the race leader, has got a penalty for slow zone infringements.
With less than 5.5 minutes remaining, drama is starting to build. We've had lots of drama. We've had lots of great racing, but the drama is building, Martin, because the 64 car is going to take a 3-minute penalty. That's going to change the complexion of this race drastically. So does the 8 car take the opportunity to fix the door because they know, or does that open the door then for the 61 car, Ferraro?
Yeah, absolutely. The minute David Hart goes into the pit lane, he's given away the lead. Now, if he's forced to, okay, no choice, but you don't do it out of the goodness of your heart. Coming towards the 64, the silver car, one huff, and then Diego Ferrao passes David Hart like he's going backwards for second place. Diego Ferrao now with the bit between his teeth in the red and white 61 car. David Hart, does he know he has to come in? If he does, why would you make it easier for everybody by slowing down anyway? So he should still be absolutely going flat out. If you've got a penalty, mitigate against it by spending your time on track going as quickly as ever you can. I mean, that's the way he races anyway. But how is it that Diego Ferrao has suddenly gone straight by him? And David Hart is now being... Ferrao, you've got here. That, you know there, the car was just dragging itself further and further offline, don't you?
And
he's
made that mistake once.
Yeah. He's pulling himself back on there gradually, and David Hart trying to go past his GT350 Mustang. It flames out on the overrun. Still in third place, and this is second place effectively because James Cottingham has that penalty. Now, did it say 3 minutes? I know car 81 is still on screen. It's having a 1 minute penalty for slow zone infringement, but whatever it is, 1 minute's enough to take away the win. Take away a top 3, take away a top 5, take away a top 10, probably for James Cottingham. 3 minutes, 25 seconds. We'll get one more lap after the end of this one because they're lapping 4.5 minute laps. Our previous group of cars were lapping 5 minute laps. So with every passing year, the lap gets shorter. Yeah, they're shrinking this. Look at this.
Oh, my heavens.
This is Le Mans. This is absolutely Le Mans. Every year I've ever been here, and this is from 3 decades before I first came here, or 2 decades before I first came here. This is what Le Mans is. Cars left, right, and centre, massive clumps of traffic, leaders fighting a battle through it, and fighting their way through battles that are just as fierce for class wins and for positions all the way down the field.
And what a great job by David Hart. The concentration that's required, and he slews sideways.
He's still backing it in like Valentino Rossi. Well, that's so he can see through the doorway.
Yeah. that for the way that camera angle is, that right hand, just very gradual little bend before they make the short chute run to the hard left-hander before Dunlop. We saw it in the Jaguar race. We saw it in the Group 2 race. The drivers are going in so hard and then getting on the brakes, and that's throwing the rear end of the car out and causing them to have to use opposite lock in what is seeming from the camera angle a straight line, but indeed it's not. It's a little bend in the road.
Absolutely right. Car 8, David Hart, under investigation for a slow zone infringement. Also, 2 minute penalties for car number 2, number 12, number 23, 32, 38, 44, 76. Now, none of those are in the top 10. So at the moment, Cottingham leads 64, penalty has been applied. Jaguar Ferrao, second place, 61, the red car, clean. David Hart, third place, number 8, penalty hanging over his head like the sword of Damocles. Fourth, Sean Lynn, who started on pole position and has been sort of middle of the top 10 ever since. He could end up in second place at the moment because there's no penalty for him. 75 doesn't have a penalty. That is the car in 5th position, and that is the black car of James Farley. So he will be effectively our 3rd podium finisher. You know, there's a sniper taking out every other one of our top 5 at the moment with the penalty gun. Yeah, exactly.
The penalty sniper.
Exactly right. Well, that's the spy in the cab from their GPS trackers, which keeps tabs on their speed in the 80km/h maximum slow zones. And when you hit the slow zone, you don't start slowing down. When you hit the slow zone, boy, you'd better be doing 80 and not 81, or you're in trouble. Trouble for one of our lightweight E-types, spreading a bit more gravel down there. And of course, although the sun is heading down, once it gets dark, nobody will know there's gravel there until suddenly their car doesn't stop anymore.
The number 59, 289 Cobra, 1964, Xavier Gallant in that car.
Oh, and this is ISO Grifo that was chucking out fluid early in the race, isn't it? That car was going very strong. That was the car Pat Blakely-Edwards had in 12th place.
I suspect it's out of fluid.
That's a total loss something system, definitely. It wasn't oil. Looked probably as though it was the the overflow for the heating system. This is the lead battle then on the road, but we already have been told a penalty will be applied to the silver 64 car. Diego Ferrao doesn't care. Notice how Ferrao's car doesn't have the helmet bubble in the door that so many of the GT40s have. Beautiful skies overhead at Le Mans as our lead battle in this fourth plateau. Cars from 62 to 65 sweep into the Porsche curves. Slower traffic in front. Is this a chance for Diego Ferrao? This is the last lap. He'll want to be ahead at the line. And even though the car in front may have a penalty, if you're not in front of him and the penalty eventually gets overturned, then you still don't get to be the winner. And if you are in front of him, you have even more of an advantage. So all of those things, aside from just being a racer and wanting to win, are germane to Diego Ferrao right now. David Hart in third, but there's a gap in front of the leaders. They won't catch traffic. Who's going to be first to the flag? James Cottingham in 64, who's led a large proportion of this lap. As long as he avoids the gravel, he should be. And Diego Ferrao will be inches behind him. Is he not going to have a lunge into the Ford chicane? The final element. Out they come. The checkered flag is ready at the end of the first race for this fourth plateau. It's James Cottingham by inches, 0.449 of a second, point ahead of Diego Ferrao, and David Hart 4.3 seconds behind Ferrao in third place. But both first and third place cars have a penalty, so we're looking back now for Sean Lynn, the man who started on pole, who will be another 15, another 10, another 7. Where is he? Has he come past our window? I haven't seen him yet. And he will take, I think, second place behind Diego Ferrao.
He just went through.
He just went through, and the number 7 car
going through right now.
Yeah, that will be our third effective podium finisher, although there aren't podiums for any of our 6 plateau until the end of the third race, and all of the coefficients have been added into the battle as well. Flickering away inside those open rear ends, you can see the drive shaft donuts, rubber donuts with inboard disc brakes. So the diff drives through the disc brakes to a rotary coupling, and that then the drive shaft takes the drive out to the outer hubs. Well, Goethe, after problems with his car dropping down the order, Stuart Hall started that car, but don't see where he has come through yet. The Goethe car, did it leave the pit lane again? Stuart Hall came late to the Le Mans Classic. I stopped him the day before we set sail, and he was coming a day late because he had to wait for drive shafts, and they stayed in the pits. Well, it's been the end of a long, hot day for some of these teams. Some have yet to even start racing, and then they go into the night and they race again on Sunday.
4-minute penalty.
4-minute penalty for David Hart, the number 8 car. So he too infringed in the slow zone. 46 and 56. They're not in our top 10 either. Oh, wow, what a race. And this is just the 4th of 6 age-related groups, all of whom have 3 races through the course of the 24-hour period. Massive, massive getaway there. Fortunate for the number 51 car of Grant Tromans, who was battling for the lead in the lead trio. That car spitting its wheel off and spitting him off as a legacy. David Hart, with plenty of drama in the number 8 car, battled for the lead, battled a door that wouldn't stay shut, and ended up picking up a whopping penalty for infringements in the slow zone. Like the modern race drivers, historic drivers push everything to the limit. If you step over the mark, it costs you an awful lot more than you'll ever gain.
Here are the results, which are going to be subject, of course, to time penalties. It's if it's 3 minutes for Cottingham, that will knock him all the way down to
top 20.
Yeah, he'll be 19th, and then Hart will be 20th.
Yep.
So
effectively,
with a 4-minute penalty.
effectively leading the charge at the moment. Diogo Ferrao from Sean Lynn and the number 7 car, no penalty for them either. So that car will effectively be third ahead of James Farley. Richard Mines getting up to 8th place on the